everyone, this is Gina. Today I'm going to show you how to make this little pink opal necklace with the Victory Gemstone bag that I just did a reveal video of. There was also an amber themed bag, and this is from victorybeads.com or I believe it's victorybeads.com. Regardless, I will put a link in the description box beneath the video player of the reveal video and of the links so that you can get to this website and order these bags if you would like. This is the necklace we're going to make today. I'm using some pink opal little heart-shaped beads that were in the gemstone bag called White Rose, and I have added a few mother of pearl beads from my website to it, and all that will be discussed in the next section when we go over the material list for this. But I think this turned out really pretty. I just really love these little pink opal beads. They're just so pretty. I used some discs that were also in that bag, and then I made a couple of earrings to match, and I think it turned out really pretty. Let's get it close so you can see it against the skin here, and this is just a really, really pretty little set. So that's what that looks like, and let's go ahead and look at what it takes to make this particular necklace and earrings. Okay, so for this first project, I am going to show you how to make a few things from the Victory Gem Bag White Rose. Now, I have a reveal video that I did, and I will put a link in the description box beneath the video player if you want to see that reveal so you can see all the beads that were in that bag. These are from victorybeads.com, so if you want some, you can go into that website and get some. I will also post links in the description box beneath the video player for the particular bags I'm using. Now, I'm going to be using some of the pink opal heart beads is what they're calling them, and these are 12 millimeter, and I'm going to be using them. You got a strand of them in the bag, the pink rose bag, and there are, I believe, like 7 beads, so we're going to be using those. I already designed a little component for ear wire, so that's why I don't have all 7 out here, but I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, I'm going to design the necklace as I do this, so I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to use. I just have a few things out, and I will either add or subtract as needed during the video. So I have added to the bag. These are from my website, and these are some mother of pearl 6 millimeter round beads. I will be adding those to this, perhaps, and I just thought they would complement this well, so I have gotten those out too. I have out some 4 millimeter round glass beads, and these are pink opal in color, and that's also from my website. I have out the disc beads, the pink opal disc beads from the White Rose Victory bag. I also have out some size 2 crimp beads, some 26 gauge wire, and some fine soft flex, and some 11/0 seed beads, and I may change this to 8/0s, I'm not sure yet, but I have some galvanized permanent finish Toho out for spacer beads, and a lobster claw clasp. Now, we need to discuss a little thing about beads from India. They are hand drilled. So hand drilled beads usually have a bigger hole on one side, smaller hole on the other. Sometimes you can't pass a real thick wire through, or you can only pass it through halfway. So what is really important to have when you're using beads from India, because like I said, they are hand drilled, is to have a bead reamer. So this bead reamer I got with my beadsmith set. It's a set that comes like this that has all the tools in it, and it's the zebra set. I have my bead reamer from that. It has 3 different augers in here, 3 different little drill bits, so they're diamond tipped, and you can just change the tips by opening it here and putting in a different tip. I'm going to use the very fine tip to kind of enlarge and smooth out the holes in these little beads. So you can get bead reamer kits or bead reamer tools on Amazon, and you can get a whole kit for fairly cheap. Like I said, this one came with my bead set from Beadsmith, and I use it a lot. If you're going to be using gemstones, you will need to invest in one of these. It's very important. Otherwise, you're going to find that you can't use your beads because of the holes. So, with these little heart beads, I've already reamed them a little bit, but you'll always see that there's a bigger hole on one side and a smaller hole on the other. Start from the larger side and just gently, and I don't really need to do this because I already did, but just gently turn your tool until it comes all the way through the other side. Once you get it to the size you want by turning it like this, I'm sorry, I'm out of camera, then you're going to turn it the opposite direction to take it out. Do it gently and slowly so you do not break your bead. But this is how you're going to ensure that you can use your beads well. You're going to use smaller gauge wires for the Indian beads, some of them more than others. Like these ones have a pretty good size hole, so I'm not worried about it. These ones, the top drilled, are notorious for having a smaller hole. So I am just cleaning out each one of them gently, and that way I can use my wire. But I'm going to use a 26 gauge, and I'm going to use, when I string, I'm going to use the Soft Flex Fine. So you want a smaller diameter. The diameter on the Soft Flex Fine is 0.36 millimeter or 0.014 inch. So I'll get in close so you can see this, because you'll, for this particular project, we'll want to use smaller wire and beading wire and regular wire. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I've got some crimp tubes out by Beadalon. I've got a size 2 with the fine wire. You could possibly use a size 1, but they're so tiny, they're difficult to handle. So I'm going to use a size 2. So, and I've got a lobster claw available here too. So I'm going to go and just kind of shuffle these beads around, play with them a little bit, and then come back and show you how to make a few things. Okay, so I have come up with the design idea. Now the first thing you want to do is cut 24 inches of your big bead stringing wire. Whatever's fine diameter that you're using, I'm using Soft Flex Fine. So what you'll want to do with your 24 inches here is we're going to center 3 of these little heart opal beads. And you want to first ream them. Make sure when you pick out the 3 that you're going to do for this focal that the holes in them are centered pretty well on either side of the bead. There's different thicknesses in these beads too. So I'm going to use a center one that's a little thicker, and then 2 side ones that are a little thinner. I'm making sure that the holes are pretty center on the sides of the beads, because some of them can be drilled a little off kilter. So you want to make sure that they're nicely drilled. And then just kind of lay them together and make sure they're going to lay together in this shape, just like this. Pretty nice. And then you're going to need 1 of these disc beads. Now some of these, the holes are drilled a little bit bigger, but some of them are a little off kilter too. So pick up one, making sure it's going through the center very well. One side you're going to have to ream out to make it a little bit larger. So I put on this particular end for my bead reamer, and I've started on the smaller side, and I've just increased the hole on this side, and then I'll take my fine one, and it takes a couple minutes. I'm just showing you quickly. I've already done it, but it takes a couple of minutes to get through your beads and make them so that they'll work really well. Then after I've increase that side, I'm going in with my little auger and just making sure I can go through nicely on both sides. And you can see my reamer is sliding through really well, and that's because I've already reamed these pretty nicely, this one pretty nicely, because I want to run both ends of my beading wire through it. So I'm going to do a double beading wire through it. So you need to make sure that you have a big enough hole to accommodate that for this particular design. Once you have done that, reposition here a little bit. Once you have done that, you're going to pick up the one that you've designated for your center bead, and you're going to drop it down onto your beading wire. And then you're going to drop on one on either side. So we'll put on one on this side. Here, let me get it to where you can see what I'm doing here. So I'll drop one on this side, and then I will drop one on this side. Now I have 3 beads, like little drops right in the middle. I'm going to put my ends together, my wire on the opposite ends here, and I'm just going to center them by pulling on the wire and making sure, I'll do it sideways here so you can see, make sure these stay together, pull this down to the center, and now you've got it centered. Okay, so once you've done that, then you're going to pick up an 11-0 seed bead on either side of your wire. So I'm going to pick up an 11-0 here, and I have added 15 O's and 8 O's to my little pile of seed beads here. So I've got 11-0 aluminum Toho permanent finish aluminum, and I've got 8-0 and 15-0 in the Toho aluminum permanent finish. So galvanized permanent finish. That's a lot to say. So I've got my 3 little beads. In the middle, I've got an 11-0 on either side, and then I'm going to pick up a 4mm round crystal here, and I'm going to drop it down on either side, just like that. And then I'm going to pick up 2 11-0s on either side here, so just like that. Now I'm going to put my wires back together on the ends here and just pull this all to the center, make sure it's centered again, and I'm going to pick up my disc bead that I've prepared, and I am going to go from the bigger hole side, and I'm going to slide both of these wires through it. And I'm just going to pull it down to my beads, just like this. And just make sure you arrange them so they're nice. Pull on either wire on either side here, and make sure everything is nice and tight together, like this. Now, you don't want any spaces, you don't want to see any wire, you just want it nice and neat, not so tight that they're bunching. You want them just to hold together without any rumpling up or anything. Then just grab your wires, make sure you have not twisted them inside. You have the wire that's running this way on this side and the wire that's running this way on this side. Kind of separate them, pull them out on either side to give some room. Then we're going to pick up 3, or excuse me, don't do that yet. Don't do that yet, guys. Sorry about that. We're going to put an 8-0 seed bead on top of here because it's just going to balance out the next step a little bit better if we do so. So put both your wires together and put an 8-0. Make sure that's a nice uniform 8-0. And I'm going to drop this down on top of the little opal disc, just like this. Now I'm going to separate them, pull on either side, separate them, make sure you don't rumple up your piece, have it nice and neat, and then pick up 3 15-0 seed beads on one wire and 3 15-0s on the other wire. Let's see if I can do this rather quickly. And drop down 3 15-0s on this side, and then I'm going to pick up this wire, and I'm going to pick up 3 15-0s on this wire. This smaller size gives room for the wires to lay next to each other without the beads bunching, so you'll want to use 15-0 seed beads. It's important. Then we're going to pick up a crystal So a 4mm round crystal. You could use anything you want for your spacer beads. You don't have to have these crystals. You could use a clear crystal. You could use whatever you want. You could use a bicone here too if you would like. So now I have picked up my crystal on either side. I am going to pick up a mother of pearl 6mm round. And again, I have these, they're long strands. So if you want to get one, you can make probably a couple projects with it. It's up to you. Or just use something else. Doesn't matter. Those are 6mm round. And then I'm going to drop a crystal on either side again, a 4mm crystal. And then I'm just going to make a pattern of how I want my beads to lay, and I'll show you on this side, and then we can finish beading off camera. So I believe I want to go with 3/11 seed beads on this side. Oh, come here. These goofy little beads, they just want to mess with me all the time. 3/11. And then I'm going to put on 3 of my 6mm round beads. That one's kind of goofy. See, these mother of pearl beads chip very easily, so you have to kind of pick and choose. Some of them get kind of chipped up. Okay. There we go. And then I think I'm going to go with 3 more 11/0s. And oh, come on, pick up. I'm having one of those days, people. I just can't seem to get it together no matter how hard I try here. Okay, so 3 11/0s, and then I am going to pick up one of my disc beads and put it on. And just make sure that you pick up a pretty nicely drilled one so that it lays nice in the middle of the wire instead of off to one side or the other. You don't have to ream them for this part because this is a fine wire and these holes are big enough, so you can just drop them on there. And I'm just going to do a repeating pattern like this. So I'm just going to pick up 3 more 11/0s, and those are 15/0s. Let me get 3 more 11/0s. Okay, then move this over a little bit. So that's what I have. And now I think I'm just going to repeat from here. So I will pick up a crystal and a 6mm round and a crystal then my 3 11/0s, then my 3 6mm rounds, and I'm just going to do that until I get to the end. I will come back and I will show you exactly what I've got on the end here, and then we'll do the other side. So you can see the finished stringing, and I'll pause on it so that you can look at it and copy it if you'd like. Pause on your video player and just copy what I do. So I'll be right back as soon as I get this all beaded up, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, so this is what I have done. Now what I have strung is about 8 inches from here to here, so that's going to be 16-inch necklace around your neck. Of course, you're going to have more length hanging down, but for your neck it's going to be 16 inches, which is small. So you can either cut more wire and bead more before you end it, or you can do an extender. I intend to make an extender, about a 2-inch extender. I will get a piece of chain, or I will hook some jump rings together to make my extender so that you can wear this up to 18 inches or 20 inches, however long I make my extender, because I'm pretty sure that is what that is. Yeah. So 8 inches on this side and 8 inches on this side is a 16-inch necklace. Now, I thought I had cut more to make a longer necklace, but this little embellishment we've made takes up a lot of the wire. So like I said, cut a longer wire if you want a longer necklace. So now I have on my strand here, I will be quiet for a second so you can pause it and you can just look at exactly the pattern I have made if you want to make the same pattern. And these are 11 seed beads on all of them. There's 3 of them. Okay, so once we have made that pattern, I have ended with 3 8/0 seed beads on the end here so that I can hide my beading wire and make a nice ending. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a size 2 crimp tube out, and I'm going to drop it onto this wire here, right on top of these little 3 8/0 seed beads that I ended with. Just like this. It's probably a little too close there. And then I'm going to grab my lobster claw clasp, and that's what I'm going to use on this end. On the other end, I will put on my jump rings. So come here. All right. Drop that little guy on there. Trying to make sure that my trigger will be fine. Okay. So now I want to go back through the jump or the crimp tube. Sorry about that. Go through your loop, go back through the crimp bead, and then go back through all 3 of these 8/0 seed beads, just like this. And then as you pull on this wire, you will see one side moves. So this is the side that's moving. This is the side that stays stable. I cannot talk today. So I'm going to hold on that side and pull all the way down tight so that I don't even have any movement here between my lobster claw and my crimp bead. Just going to straighten that out just like that. And then I am going to trim, making sure I have no slack in here. I'm going to trim this down with my flush cutters right at the end of those 8/0 seed beads, and then I'm going to very gently move my lobster claw clasp up just a little bit away from the crimp tube. So I'm just pushing down on that crimp tube and kind of pulling up on the lobster claw, drawing the end of the wire up into the 8/0 seed beads and giving me some movement between my crimp tube and my clasp. So now I have a little loop that my clasp will move on well. I've hidden my wire. It's up in the seed beads. There's no pokies. It's holding stable for me, and now I can do some crimping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my crimping tool, and I'm going to place my crimp bead in the second divot closest to the handle here. I have my flat side of my crimping tool this way. I'm going to imagine where the middle of this wire is. So your wires wrap around. So between the 2 wires that have wrapped around, you're going to envision where the center is, place your crimping tool on that, and then squeeze. And what that results in is 2 little tubes around each side of the wire, just like that. And then you're going to place those 2 little tubes against the crimping tool in the divot closest to the tip here. And the crimp tube is now in there sideways, and now you squeeze. And as you do that, it brings those 2 little tubes together and you get a nice secure crimp, just like this. Now, let me back off a little bit. Before you do that, you want to make sure that you have no slack in your line and everything looks really good. And then on this side, you can pull it and get everything tight again. If you have any little slack, you can, when you crimp this side, you can do the same thing. But we've set this side up now. This one is done, so we can work on this side without things moving, and then we can just crimp off the end exactly the same way that we did this side. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to copy your beading on this side. Exactly the same amount of beads, same everything, make it symmetrical. Do this side, crimp it off, and put a jump ring on the end. So once we have done that, I will come back and show you how to do this end with your crimp bead. But go ahead and do your beading and we'll be back. Okay, so I have strung my second side of the necklace. I've clipped it off just to hold it. Make sure you end with your 3/8 seed beads. But what I'm going to do is build an extender first before I attach it. So I've got some closed jump rings. These are just jump rings that do not have a slit. You can't open them. They are closed. So I'm going to use, that way it won't slip through my crimping. My bead wire won't go through it, and it's not weak because of the opening in the jump ring. So I'm using these little closed jump rings, and then I'm going to connect two little jump rings in between. So I've got these 6mm open jump rings that I'm going to connect between, and I'm going to make myself a little chain with it for an extender. So let me move all this back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with one of my closed jump rings, which are these textured ones here. And then I'm just going to grab one of my 6mm round jump rings here, and that's outside diameter. Doesn't really matter. These are about 8mm. Doesn't really matter what size you use, as long as your lobster claw clasp will go through it easily. That's the size you need. So my opening is here. I have a plier on one side. I'm going to put a plier on the other side of the opening, and I'm just going to twist it open like this. And then I'm going to put it on the jump ring and put another jump ring on like this. So I'm going to do two. And then I'm just going to close that 6mm jump ring just like I opened it. I'm going to leave them bent in half like this. I'm going to pick up another one because I want to have two jump rings in between each one. You can add just one and make an extender that way too, but I want two. So I've opened another one. Let me back off, it's a little blurry. So I've opened another one, and I'm just going to grab both of these, and right next to the last jump ring I put on, I'm just going to slide this on and close the jump ring. And then I'm just going to open these up and lay them out, and you can see that I've started my little chain that will be my extender. So I'm going to continue putting two 6mm jump rings on, adding another closed jump ring until I have about a 2.5 inch chain, and then we'll come back and we'll add it to the necklace. Okay, so I've made my little extender. You can make it as long as you want. You can just add a little piece of chain. These jump rings are a little big for how small this necklace is, but I'm just giving you ideas. You don't have to do exactly what I do. If you don't like the way it looks, change it up. These are ideas for you and techniques for you. You don't necessarily have to follow it exactly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop one of my crimp tubes down on the end here. I'm going to push on my beads and scoot it all together to make sure that everything is nice and secure on here. There's no slack. And then I'm going to grab the extender I made and go through one of the closed jump rings. And of course you could do this with just one closed jump ring if the rest of it gets in your way, and then connect them to it if you would like. Once you have that on there, then you're going to go back through the crimp bead and the 3/8 here. And let me get you in a little closer. So now I'm back through all of them. And I'm just going to grab my little chain nose pliers, and I'm going to grab a hold of the end here that's coming through so that I can hold on to my 3/8 here and just kind of draw this all together and pull on it to where there is absolutely no slack down here. There's no slack up here. I'm pulling it tight just like I did on the other side. And this is just my method to make sure that I can get the wire inside the beads. So what I do, once I have pulled this all really tight, I have no movement here, none of that, and I have it secure, I can now grab a hold of my wire, flush cut it right at the end of those 3 8/0 seed beads, and then I can adjust by pushing down on my crimp tube a little bit, drawing up the end of the wire into the 8/0 seed beads, and now I have movement for my jump ring, and I have a stable situation that I can pick up and I can crimp. So now I'm going to imagine where the middle of the 2 wires are. So it's 1 wire that's bent, but it becomes 2 inside there because it's bent. So I'm imagining where the center of those 2 wires are, and I'm placing my crimp tool right in the center of those 2, and the second divot, the one closest to the handle. Perhaps, there we go. And then I'm just going to squeeze. Now that I have squeezed, I have my situation with the 2 little tubes on either side. So you have a little fold in the middle. And then I can go to the first divot, the one closest to the tip, and situate that crimp bead in there sideways so that the 2 little tubes we created are touching the tool, and then squeeze. And now I have a very secure, very nice crimp, and my piece is all held together nicely. Let me move some of my stuff and I will show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like. Now if you wanted to get even more decorative, you could drop a couple beads on a head pin like this, and I've just put an 8/0 seed bead, and then I put a 6mm round mother of pearl, and then I put a crystal on there, and I'm just going to go to the very end right above that crystal, and let me get you in close here. I'm going to bend this straight over in a right angle like this. Then I'm going to use my flush cutters, and I'm going to cut this wire about 1/4 inch long. Then I'm going to get my round nose pliers, and I'm going to place that wire right at the end of, so it's flush with the pliers here, and I'm just going to start to turn. I'm going to turn as far as I can. I'm going to take my plier out, turn it over, place it back in towards the tip of the loop I'm creating, and continue to turn. And now I have a loop. And so what I can do with that is I can open this loop that I've created. Let me straighten him out. So find the side that opens, crank it open a little bit, and drop it on the end of this jump ring here, and then close it. And now I have a little decorative bobble on the end of my extender, and it looks pretty. Now, this is a pretty long extender, but I want it to be able to fit small people as well as large people. So if someone needs to attach very small, they'll have a nice little dangle at the very end here because they can attach all the way up here, or they can attach anywhere in between, and now the necklace will fit several different sizes of people. And if you're selling your jewelry, that helps because you never know what size a person is going to be attracted to your piece. So a 16-inch necklace is small, and then an 18 about medium, and a 20-inch is large. So there is this pretty little necklace we've made, and now I'm going to show you how to make a pair of earrings with the leftover little heart beads. So I'm going to try to find another one that kind of matches. I should have set 2 aside that matched really well in shape and size, but I didn't, and this one's a little odd shaped, but this is the closest one I have. So I am going to make an earring out of that. I'm going to be using some 26 gauge wire, and this is just artistic wire, and it's soft, of course, and we're going to go ahead and make an earring to match. So we'll need a couple ear wires, and let me gather my things together. We'll come back, we'll make an earring. Okay, so we're going to make a little earring that looks like this, just a really simple little wire wrap earring. So I have cut 7 inches of 26 gauge craft wire. This is artistic wire, and I'm just going to slide it through my bead. And then I'm going to put the ends of the wire together, and I'm going to pull on it and center that bead in the middle of the wire. Let me back off just a little here. And then once I've done that, I am going to go to the tip of the bead, and right at the ends of the wire here, I'm going to squeeze the wires together right over the top of the bead. And you can do this with your flat nose pliers if you need to. And I'm just using my fingernails, and I'm just going to squish it together. So this is what you have. And then I am going to kind of straighten the wires, put them next to each other, straighten them the best I can. They don't really want to stay together well, but I'm just going to straighten them the best I can. And then right on top of where I squeezed the two wires together, I'm going to place my brown nose pliers. I'm having the wires laid next to each other and not twisted. And then once I've got a hold on it, I'm going to just push the wires over the back of my plier here. So I'm holding it like parallel to the bead mat. It's horizontal in position, and then I'm going to turn my hand to where my pliers are now vertical and up and down, and then I'm going to bring the wires together over the top of the plier, just like this. Then I'm going to turn my hand again so it's in the parallel position, and I'm going to draw these wires underneath the plier, just like that. And just adjust everything so it looks halfway decent. And then I am going to just leave them in my pliers, and I'm going to start turning both wires side by side around the wire that goes through the bead. And I'm just going to keep turning and go over the top of the bead and go over where the wire goes in and just keep turning. Then when I get as far as I can possibly go, I can take my plier out, straighten up my loop a little bit, and then I'm going to wrap this around one more time. So I'm going to put my pliers back in. It helps keep the loop nice. So I'm going to wrap this around a little bit more, right there. Then I'm going to grab my flush cutters, and I'm going to cut these really close to where my wrap starts, right here. So you can see my little tiny ends here. I'm going to take them and just tuck them under. Actually, not with that plier. I'm going to use this one, and I'm just going to tuck those in. Make sure they're not pokey. And maybe a little better than that. And then I can, again, center my little loop on top. It's a little off center, so I'll just put it in and move it over to the side that I want. And that is my little wire wrap right there. I hope I was in camera there. And now I can take my ear wire, and I can just open it, find the side that opens on the loop on it, open it, and then just put my little gemstone on there, close it, and now I have a set of earrings. Now, I did just kind of a messy wrap, and they're not exactly the same. Well, let me get in camera. They're not exactly the same, but they're really pretty close. So that's what that turns out like, and that's a really cute little set. And you can make a wrap like this and drop, like we have a couple beads left, so we can make another wrap like this and then just drop it on a chain through the loop. Put a jump ring on it, or turn the loop whichever way you need to turn it to get it to position correctly on your wire or your chain or whatever you're doing, and you can make a whole nother necklace. So, and have this just as a little pendant. So let me put this all together so you can see what we've made. And I'll make a few more things with these bags. I just wanted to get one project out there so you could see how easy it is to design with your gemstones. It doesn't take a whole lot of beads, and it turns out really good. So I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.